I was nervous. Tanya, my wife of 11 years, had told me to meet her at the Copper Lantern at 3 p.m. It's not a place we'd normally go at that hour. It's a sleepy dive off Route 14, mostly empty during the day unless there's a funeral reception or someone day drinking with a busted heart. Whatever she had to say wasn't about grabbing drinks and laughing. I had a feeling it was going to be something ugly. I didn't know how right I was. The Copper Lantern was the same place Tanya and I had gone to on our third date, 13 years ago. I remember her ordering a whiskey sour and talking about wanting to travel to Iceland someday. That memory felt like it belonged to another couple now, someone else's life. And today, she was the one who picked this place. That didn't feel like a coincidence. For weeks, maybe months, I'd had this sinking feeling she was cheating on me. I wasn't sure with who, but I had my suspicions. Some guy from work. Tanya's an office manager for a local contractor. Her boss, Wayne, has a revolving door of foremen and site supervisors, and she's around them all the time. She'd started staying late more often. Said she was doing inventory or helping Wayne close out permits. Then came the new clothes. Tight, dressy stuff. Nothing she'd ever worn around me. Half of it still had tags, stuffed into the back of her closet. She barely touched me anymore. Not even a kiss on the cheek before work. Most days, it was like I was invisible. We had 2 kids, Ben, 9, and Lila, 10. And even they seemed like an afterthought to her. Dinner had turned into a routine of me cooking, me cleaning, and Tanya showing up afterward with a pie or donuts like that made up for not being around. The worst part wasn't even how she treated me. It was how she seemed to forget she was their mom. By the time I pulled into the gravel lot of the Lantern, there were only 4 cars there. Hers was one of them. I sat in my truck for a bit, thinking. She had said it would just be the 2 of us. But I couldn't shake this feeling, like maybe the guy she was sleeping with would be there, too. 2 nights ago, I had overheard her on the phone. I hadn't meant to. I was walking down the hallway and heard her voice through the cracked bathroom door. Yeah, okay. Tuesday. Yep. I'll get him there. That was enough for me. Today was Tuesday, and she got me here. I sat in the cab a while, going over what I should say, what I shouldn't. And then I remembered what my old man used to tell me when I was younger, trying to navigate business disputes or heated conversations. Do nothing unless you know exactly what you're doing. Stay quiet. Let them talk. Let them show you who they are. He believed silence was power, that your enemy will fill in the gaps if you just let them. That words give away what you're thinking, what you're afraid of, what you want. So I decided right then, I wasn't going to say a damn thing unless I had to. I walked in, letting the door shut behind me. The Lantern smelled like it always did. Bleach, spilled beer, and cigarette ghosts. There she was, sitting at the bar. And next to her, a man I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, trying too hard to look casual. Button-up rolled at the sleeves, expensive watch. That, "I'm not your husband," energy radiating off him like cheap cologne. She turned, saw me, and gave the fakest smile I've ever seen. "Hey, Ray," she said. Not, "Hey, babe." Not, "Hey, hon," just Ray. Cold and flat. I walked over, stood a few feet back. "Hey, Tanya." I glanced at the guy. He turned, extended a hand I didn't shake. "Mr. Merritt, or do you prefer Ray?" he asked. "I'll get to the point. Tanya and I have been seeing each other. For a while. We're sleeping together. She doesn't want to sneak around anymore. So, we figured you deserve to know." I just stared at them. Let it sit. What he didn't know was that the inside of my jacket pocket held a tiny recorder, voice-activated. I'd bought it after the phone call I'd overheard. I didn't know what I'd hear today, but I wanted it saved. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I just listened. Tanya shifted in her seat. She must have thought I was frozen in shock. "It's been really hard keeping this from you," she said, trying to sound emotional. "I didn't want to hurt you. I'm not leaving you, Ray. I still want to be married. It's just, what I have with Travis is something I can't give up. The sex, I mean. It's different. You deserve honesty." She actually said that she hoped I'd understand. That was the moment I realized something. She was stupid. Maybe not dumb in every way, but emotionally and morally, she was dense. And he, the guy sitting next to her like a conquering hero. He had the energy of a boy who thought sleeping with another man's wife made him clever. I turned and walked to the other end of the bar. Ricky, the bartender, tried to keep his face neutral, but I could tell he'd been listening. "Whatever's on tap," I said. He poured it without a word. I took a sip. I didn't look back at them. I could feel their eyes on me. Confused. Waiting for a reaction I wasn't going to give. I finished my drink and left. Didn't say a word. And for the first time in months, I felt good. Like really good. I wasn't broken. I wasn't embarrassed. I had them talking, guessing, wondering what the hell I was going to do next. I drove straight home. My kids were waiting. I walked through the door, kissed both their heads, and smiled like we had just won the lottery. We're going to have a fun weekend, I told them. They cheered. We went out for ice cream. What they didn't know, what no one but me knew, was that they'd be heading out with their Aunt Gina and Uncle Mike for the weekend. I had called them earlier and asked for a favor. They were thrilled. Mike had always wanted kids but never could have them. And Ben and Lila adored them. That would buy me time. Because now, it was time for me to get to work. Everything okay? Mike asked as he helped the kids load their sleeping bags into the back of their SUV. Not really, I told him. I'm divorcing Tanya. He paused for a second. Didn't ask why. Just nodded slowly like a man who'd seen this coming. I figured, he said. That stopped me. What do you mean? She made a pass at me last Christmas. Gina saw it too. We didn't know how to tell you without blowing everything up. Jesus. Gina talked me out of saying anything. Thought maybe it was a one-off. A desperate move. I'm sorry, man. I looked at him. Really looked. No judgment in his face. Just quiet support. Don't be. You're doing me a favor taking the kids. I need a couple days. If you need help with anything else, anything at all, you know I'm in. I nodded. Appreciate it. After they pulled away, I got back in my truck and headed straight to Carl Dunley's place. Carl was my company's attorney. He had gray hair, zero tolerance for bullshit, and a reputation for cutting legal throats without spilling a drop on his tie. I showed up unannounced, knocked on his door, and when he opened it, I handed him the recorder and told him everything. Got it, he said. They'll be served Monday. Her and the boyfriend. We'll make it loud. He handed the recorder to his assistant and scribbled down the name of the bartender who had witnessed everything at the Copper Lantern. I'll have my guy interview him tomorrow, even though it's Sunday. Speed wins in these situations. Hit him hard, hit him fast, and leave them standing in the dust. That's what I always say. I like how you think, I said. He looked up. Ray, I'm sorry about your marriage. And especially about Ben and Lila. Thanks, I said. But honestly, I feel better than I've felt in months. As I drove away from Carl's place, something occurred to me. Tanya probably thought she had blunted the blow by telling me about the affair herself, like by getting ahead of it. She'd limit my ability to strike back. That made sense in her twisted logic. But she had no clue what I was capable of. She forgot that when I solve problems, I solve them thoroughly. Whether it's a wiring diagram or a crumbling marriage. Back home, the house felt too quiet. I pulled into the driveway and noticed a strange car parked 2 houses down. Something about it felt off. It was late evening, dusky, and the streetlights hadn't kicked on yet. That car didn't belong to anyone around here. That's when I saw Officer Darnell, my neighbor, wheeling his trash bin out to the curb. He was still in uniform. I stepped out of my truck, stood near the strange car, and nodded to him. He waved back. He saw the car too. Good. A witness. I made a note of the license plate and snapped a photo of it with my phone. I figured it might come in handy later for Carl's file. Then I circled around to the backyard, pretending to bring in my trash bin. The lights in the house were off, but the blinds in the front room were wide open. I crept up to the sliding glass doors in the back and looked in. They were on the couch. Tanya was on her knees. Travis was behind her, pants around his ankles, like he owned the place. I pulled out my phone and took photos. 10 of them, maybe more. I made sure the date and time were visible. Then I slid open the door and walked in loud enough to be heard. They turned and saw me. And then they just kept going. That part still makes my skin crawl. I didn't say a word. I just walked upstairs. 15 minutes later, I heard the front door open and shut, followed by the engine of that strange car peeling out. I waited a minute, then another. Then I went downstairs and into the kitchen. The bathroom door was shut. I could hear the shower running. I poured myself a cup of coffee and waited. When she walked in 10 minutes later, she had the nerve to smile. You okay? She asked. I didn't answer. Just kept sipping. She didn't ask about the kids. Not one word. Ray, we need to talk, she said, finally. The kids are with Gina, by the way. I thought you'd want to know. Oh, she added after a second. I noticed they weren't here when I got home. Home. That word hit different now. I just wanted to be honest, she said. I didn't like sneaking around. You're a good man. A great father. But it's just sex, Ray. That's all it is. Travis knows I won't leave you. He's okay with that. I let her talk. Just like my dad taught me. You're not some cuck or whatever. You're my husband. And I love you. I really do. Jason's just something else. It doesn't change what we have. I don't know what part of that speech was supposed to be convincing, but by the time she was done, I felt like I was looking at a stranger wearing my wife's face. I'm going out, I said. Don't wait up. I didn't want to be near her. Not even for a second. So I went back to the Copper Lantern. Ricky, the bartender from earlier, was still on duty. Back again, he said. Same thing. Yeah, I said. Looks busier tonight. Ladies' night, he grinned. Bunch of wolves circling the sheep. Look over there. He nodded toward the corner. I turned. There he was, Travis, making out with a different woman, holding her hips like he owned her, whispering in her ear. The same guy who told my wife he was okay with her staying married. The same guy who said they had something real. I pulled out my phone and snapped a couple of photos. You know him? Ricky asked. Yeah, I said. Real well. You need a witness for anything, you let me know, he said. My ex did something similar to me. Took me for half. If I can help another guy avoid that, I'm in. I nodded. I might take you up on that. Travis never saw me. Not once. I stayed till closing, talking to Ricky over a few cups of coffee. He lived above the bar, didn't have anyone waiting on him. Neither did I. When I got home, it was close to 4 a.m. Tanya was asleep, or pretending to be. I slid into bed beside her. She reached over, tried to touch me. I moved her hand away. She didn't try again. Morning light was already cutting through the blinds by the time I opened my eyes. I hadn't slept much, but I didn't feel tired. I felt calm, focused. The kind of focus that only comes when the worst has already happened, and all that's left is to do something about it. The smell of bacon drifted in from the kitchen. I threw on a t-shirt, jeans, and headed downstairs. She was at the stove like nothing had happened, smiling like she was part of a commercial for some bullshit marriage retreat. Morning, sleepyhead, Tanya said, like we were still playing house. Smells good, I muttered. Oh, I'm staying home today. Thought I'd be here for you. Maybe we can spend some time together. Talk things out. She gave a wink. If you're good, you might even get lucky. She giggled. I don't know how I kept from throwing my coffee cup through the window. The woman had been raw-dogged on our couch by another man 2 nights earlier, and now she was flirting with me like I'd just gotten home from deployment. Got to take the truck in, I said. Brakes are shot. Oh, well, maybe later, she said. Disappointed, but still trying to keep the illusion up. What she didn't know was that I wasn't lying. The brakes did need replacing. But before I left, I placed my small voice recorder behind the kitchen phone. If she was going to call her lover, that's where it would happen. I was right. 3 hours later, I was home. She was outside dragging the trash can to the curb. I snuck into my office with the recorder and hit play. The sound of her voice came through crystal clear. Hi, it's me. Yeah, he just left. Said something about the brakes. I don't know, Travis. Maybe he's onto us. Pause. No, I don't think he saw anything last night. He's been weird, though. Quiet. Maybe he's trying to pretend it's not happening. Another pause. I just don't want to lose you, okay? I love you. I know we shouldn't have done it like that, right in front of him, but he needed to see it. He needed to know what we have is real. She said that. On the recording. Like some soap opera villain. She told him she loved him. And I knew he didn't give a single shit about her. I had pictures of him with that other woman at the bar just the night before. That moment, that was the first time I felt more pity than anger. She wasn't just a liar. She wasn't just disloyal. She was pathetic. She thought Travis loved her. Thought they were soulmates. Thought screwing him in the living room while I was home would somehow prove a point. It wasn't even betrayal at this point. It was delusion. Dangerous, sad delusion. She came inside while I was still in my office. You all right? She asked again, her voice soft, fake concerned. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. I was too busy trying to figure out what kind of woman I had married. She used to be decent. Used to care about the kids. About our home. About me. At least I thought she did. No? It was like she was trying out for a role in someone else's fantasy life and didn't care who got wrecked along the way. I got out of the house early the next morning, before she even stirred. The kids were still at Gina and Mike's, and I wasn't planning on seeing Tanya again until it was all over. It was Monday, the big day. At Halford Systems, I checked in with Naomi, my office assistant, and told her I'd be out the rest of the day. Then I headed over to Carl's office. He had good news. Malcolm, the PI, dug into your boy Travis. He's married. Been married for 8 years. Wife's name is Loretta. They've got 6 kids. And get this, she's the one with the money. Real estate inheritance, family trust, the works. I just blinked. Carl grinned. I sent everything we have to her already. What she does with it is her business. I handed him the voice recording from the kitchen and the photos from the copper lantern. He looked impressed. You were busy. Let's make it count, I said. Oh, it'll count, Carl nodded. Servers en route now. Both Tanya and Travis will get served at their workplaces. We've got a temporary restraining order ready to keep both of them out of your home until the hearing. Good, I said. Make it loud. Make it public. I want it to sting. You'll get your show. Before I left, I had one more thing to ask. After this all settles, I said, I might have a side project for you and Malcolm. Some unfinished business. Carl's eyes lit up. That's what I like to hear. I couldn't stay away. I told myself I didn't need to see it happen. Her getting served, her perfect little world cracking in front of her coworkers. But I did. I needed the closure. I needed that visual confirmation that this was real, that the games were over. So I went. I stood in the hallway outside her boss's office at the contracting company where Tanya worked. I blended in, nodded to someone who thought I was a delivery guy. No one questioned me. The process server, young guy, probably ex-military by the way he carried himself, walked in with the envelope tucked under one arm. He didn't look at me. No reason to. He had a job to do. I leaned against the wall and waited. He opened the door and stepped inside. I couldn't see Tanya at first, but I heard her voice. Yes? Can I help you? Are you Tanya Merritt? Yes. You've been served. There was silence, followed by the crinkle of papers being pulled from the envelope. I saw her through the glass now, standing stiff, pale, reading the first page. Then came the tears, right there in front of her boss. Her legs gave out, and she dropped into her chair like someone pulled the strings from a puppet. I stepped forward, into the doorway. She looked up. Our eyes met. Ray, she gasped, like she couldn't believe I'd be part of this. You said I deserved honesty, I said. This is what honesty looks like. I turned and walked out before she could speak. I didn't need to hear it. Her shock was the only sound I needed. Back in the truck, I got the update from Carl's assistant. Travis had been served at his workplace, too, some real estate outfit a few miles away. According to the assistant, he passed out in the lobby. He lost everything. His wife, Loretta, had already taken the kids and filed her own response. She had money. She had power. And unlike Tanya, she didn't cry. She moved. Everything was lining up. A couple days later, I met Carl at his office for coffee. We went over next steps. He was still confident that we'd walk away clean. No alimony. No assets for her. Just enough for her to scrape by. She's got nothing to bargain with, Carl said. You've got recordings, photos, witnesses. She walked into the courtroom wearing gasoline. I'm just going to light the match. I nodded, then shifted gears. You remember Ricky? The bartender I mentioned? Yeah. I want to help him. His ex took him to the cleaners. If there's anything we can do to revisit that case, I'd like to. The guy deserves a break. Carl tapped his pen against the desk. You keep surprising me, Ray. Guy helped me when I needed it. Loyalty matters. Carl smirked. We'll see what we can dig up. Might be able to push for a motion if there's something buried in her records. The next stop was back to the Copper Lantern. Ricky was behind the bar again, and this time I walked in like I owned the place. Because for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. He slid me a beer before I could even ask. You good? He said. Better every day. You get her served? Yeah, I said. Right at work. Jesus. Wish I could have seen it. You'll like this even better, I said, showing him the photos of Travis making out with some new girl. This was 2 nights after she told me he was her soulmate. Ricky laughed. Goddamn. These people are something else. You ever see a man destroy his own life with such confidence? I asked. Only when they think they're too clever to get caught. We talked a while longer. He asked about the kids, and I told him they were still at Mike and Gina's, probably catching frogs or roasting marshmallows or something. I missed them. A lot. But I wasn't ready to bring them home. Not until Tanya was out of the house for good. I slept at home that night. Alone. The silence was golden. The next morning, Tanya texted me. Said she needed to talk. I ignored it for a while. But curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet her at the diner near the old train station. Neutral ground. She was already there when I walked in. wearing sunglasses like she thought she was famous or hiding bruises. When she took them off, I saw the truth, eyes swollen from crying, face drawn and pale. "Ray," she said, "please." I sat down but didn't say anything. "I've lost everything," she said. "You didn't have to go nuclear. You showed me who you were. I just took your word for it." She tried to reach across the table. I pulled my hand back. "But the kids," she started. "You haven't asked about them once in the last 2 weeks. Not once. Don't start pretending now." I was confused. "Travis, he made me feel wanted. I didn't mean to hurt anyone." "You didn't mean anything. That's the problem. You didn't think. You just did what you wanted." "I want us back," she said. I actually laughed. Out loud. "You serious? I know I messed up, but we were good once. We can be again. I won't see Travis anymore. I'll prove it. I'll block him. Delete everything. You can check my phone." I pulled a manila folder from my bag and slid it across the table. "What's this?" she asked. "Photos. Of Travis. From ladies' night at the Lantern. Making out with some woman in a corner booth." She went pale again. Opened the folder. Flipped through them. "But these are from..." "Yeah. Saturday night. While you were telling him you loved him and planning our life with him. He was out there doing the same thing to someone else." I stood up. "You're not special to him, Tanya. You never were." Tanya didn't cry right away. She just stared at the photos, her hands trembling like she was holding a loaded gun and had no idea how to set it down. I stood there, watching her finally realize she bet everything on a man who wasn't even playing the same game. "I thought she started." "You thought wrong." I cut her off. I could have said more. I could have dragged her through the mud, made her beg louder, made her feel every inch of the shame she tried to dump on me. But I didn't. I was done being her emotional trash can. She had emptied me out already. "I came here for 2 reasons," I said. "First, I'm offering you a clean exit. You get nothing from me, no alimony, no assets, but I'll give you a little money to get into a small place and allow you open visitation with the kids, as long as there are no boyfriends involved." "Ever?" She blinked. "What?" "That's the offer. You contest it. You lose everything. Carl will burn you to the ground in court. I've got evidence, witnesses, and more recordings than you realize. Your choice." Tanya looked away, breathing hard. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She'd seen the look in my eyes before, back when we lost a home bid years ago, and I turned it around in a week with a better deal. "I'm not loud when I fight. I'm surgical." "What's the second reason?" she asked quietly. I took a breath. "To tell you that we're done. Forever. There is no us to fix. You turned our life into a joke, and I refuse to be the punchline. I deserve better. My kids deserve better." She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, but the words didn't come. "I loved you," I added. "But that version of you, the one I married, she died a long time ago. You let her go. Not me." I walked out of that diner into the afternoon sun, feeling 20 pounds lighter. A week later, everything was in motion. Tanya signed the papers. She didn't contest a thing. Carl had drawn them up in a way that boxed her in completely. She could either take the deal or get publicly shredded in court. She chose to fold. She moved into a small 2-bedroom on the south side of town. I wired her just enough to cover the deposit and the first month. That was it. After that, she was on her own. She asked to see the kids, and I agreed, under supervision. She cried when she saw Ben and Lila, but the kids were stiff, guarded. They didn't understand all of it, but they knew something had changed. I didn't try to poison them against her. I didn't need to. Her absence these last few months had already done most of the work. Travis, meanwhile, got the full weight of his own disaster. Loretta filed for divorce, full custody, and blocked his access to their joint accounts. Carl passed along every scrap of evidence to her lawyers. The man who walked into that bar with smug confidence was now sleeping on his cousin's couch and looking for work out of town. Ricky, the bartender, sent me a text a few days later. "You did good, brother. If you ever want to grab a beer and not talk about women, first round's on me." I took him up on it. We met at the Copper Lantern again, sat in the corner, and talked about dumb movies and our favorite barbecue joints. It felt normal. That's what I needed, normal. Carl gave me an update not long after. He was looking into Ricky's old case, trying to get his alimony reduced based on new circumstances. Maybe it would work. Maybe it wouldn't. But the effort meant something. We look out for each other. That's the one lesson I took from all this. A month later, Tanya tried to talk to me again. She showed up at my house unannounced, something she hadn't done since being served. "Just 5 minutes," she said, standing on the porch. I let her speak. I know you'll never forgive me. I know I messed up worse than anyone can fix. But if there's any part of you if there's any chance you might. There's not, I said. But I'm the mother of your kids. You don't get to throw that around now. You lost that card when you stopped showing up for them. I didn't mean to. I don't care. I didn't yell. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it gently. 3 months later, I finally sat Ben and Lila down and gave them the age-appropriate version of the truth. They cried. I cried. Then we went for burgers and played mini-golf like nothing was wrong. That's how we heal. In little, clumsy ways. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. I don't believe in that. Revenge is fine, but clarity is better. I didn't just want to destroy Tanya's fantasy. I wanted to rebuild my life without her in it. And I did.